Good morning, everyone. Babycode free TOEFL sessions. I'm Tanu Vimani, an IDP certified trainer and a TOEFL and TESOL certified trainer. I'm back with my live session number 18th, and we have covered up our reading module, listening module, speaking as well. And today we are beginning with the writing part. The very first question for the writing part is integrated writing. So we will look at what writing integrated question is. But before this session, I would request you go to the reading part, complete all your reading module, complete all the sessions, practice for listening and speaking as well. Any doubts, any queries, please write down below the session that you face this difficulty, and I'm going to solve that problem very soon. Now let's talk about TOEFL writing section, and the very first question is integrated writing question. So we will look at few points here, how the question is structured, how to approach the question, how your response is scored, and we will look at sample response also that received a high score and some tips to improve your writing skills. So today's session will be focusing on these few points. Very first thing is, what is this task about integrated writing question? So integrated writing question, it's about that you will read a passage about a topic. The very first is you will read a passage about a topic. That means you will get a reading passage here. Second is you will listen to a short lecture related to the related to the same topic. Then you have 20 minutes to type your answer. That means you will be typing your answer to the computer, right? So first you will read the passage, then you will hear a short lecture, and then you have 20 minutes to type your response. Now there is no maximum length for your response, but an effective response, it should be between 150 to 225 words. So you have 20 minutes to write 150 to 225 words. This will be your reading passage. Your screen will look like this. Then you have a listening lecture. Your listening lecture will look like this. And then you have 20 minutes to type here your response. Now, we already looked at what writing question is, what your task is. Now let's describe about what time duration you have to report. Now, when you will see the reading passage, you have only 3 minutes to read it. So as you read, start looking for the main idea of the passage. You can take notes also for the key points, and that should relate to the main idea. Don't need to memorize the passage because your passage will reappear on screen again when it's time to write. Next is, when you start listening to the lecture will be about the same topic from a different perspective, and the lecture will be for 2 minutes. So as you listen, you can take notes on your scratch paper, right? Listen for information that responds to the points in the reading passage, right? You will only hear the listening passage once. So when it's finished, the reading passage will reappear on your screen along with the question. Now the question here is that they ask you to summarize the points made in the lecture, and you have to explain how they relate the specific points in the reading passage. So you will read the passage for 3 minutes, then you have 2 minutes for your audio lecture, right? Now comes your task that you have 20 minutes and you have to summarize the points that made in the lecture, and you have to relate those points to the reading passage. This is your task. See here. Reading passage. Now this is your reading passage. You can read quickly. You have 3 minutes to read it. Look for the main idea, take your notes, and don't memorize. Next, then you have to listen to the lecture for 2 minutes. So suppose you are hearing a lecture, you have to look for the what things is that they will be the lecture on the same topic but different perspective. You have to take notes also and listen specifically for the points that respond to the reading passage. This is the most important point you have to focus on. Now that you understood that how your question is presented, some strategies we will look at that how you can prepare your response and how well you can write your response, right? So as I mentioned about reading passage, that it is important that you should look for the main idea. So main idea will always be in the first paragraph, right? And see how it's developed. First paragraph, and then you have 3 points that support the main idea. Okay. Now here, this passage is about computerized voting. The main idea is stated in the first paragraph, and it says that current voting systems are inaccurate and they are unreliable and they should be replaced by computerized voting system. See here. So this is your first paragraph. It has the main idea. This is the main idea. And then you have supporting paragraphs. So this way you can write the supporting ideas by reading the supporting paragraphs. So you have total 4 key points. First main idea and then 3 supporting points. So when you start reading, just quickly write down in your notes about the supporting points. Once that is done, you have to listen to the lecture for 2 minutes. Now here speaker is going to indicate his or her perspective near the beginning of lecture only. So be careful that you listen it carefully. In this case, it's clear that speaker opposed the change to electronic voting. See, he clearly mentioned it's doubtful that computerized voting would solve the problems of voting. So when you start hearing, hear it from the beginning of the lecture. This is an audio transcript. You can read the audio transcript also. So once you hear your audio, you can jot down the notes like this because you're going to hear the lecture only at once. So always make the points which you relate to the reading passage and write down these kind of notes. Once done, once you make several points, you should find those key points in the lecture also and match those. So these are the reading points and these are the listening points. So start matching them up, right? You will be able to match up those points with the points in the reading part because they ask you to summarize. So finally, what happens is that you have to answer the question, and question asks you to summarize the lecture. Summarize lecture and how the lecture responds to the points made in the reading passage, right? So if you only write about what is in the reading passage, you are not answering your question. You have to answer the question with these 2 points, summarizing lecture and how lecture responds to the points made in the reading passage, right? Now, before the test, make sure you know that what raters are looking for and how your question is scored. So task in the writing section, they'll be giving you score from 0 to 5. And what they look for is they look for the three criteria: accurate development, organization, and language. These three things, right? Now, these three things, what are these three things? First, accurate development. The raters are looking for how well you are able to select your important information from the lecture, how clearly you present it in the relation to the important information from the reading part, right? Second is this basically organization. Now, organization means that reader can read your essay from beginning to end without being confused. Also, that are they able to follow the ideas by writing in a paragraph? Are you using good transitions? Avoid repetition, talking about same thing over and over, just use different words. Third is language use. Now, language use means sentence structure, word choice, vocabulary, and also important that your grammar should be strong and consistent also. It doesn't need to be perfect to get a top score, but yes, it needs to be strong and consistent also. And this is a sample response which got score of 5 on a 5-point scale, right? So it got 5 points. Now you can look at a sample response of this question about how computerized voting that received a score of 5, because this was a well organized response and it does a very good job of selecting important information from the points that made in the lecture and explaining those information relates to the reading passage. So you can see here it is well organized, selects important from the lecture and explain how the points in the lecture claims or relates to the reading passage. That is your task. These two things you have to do in this integrated writing question is that summarizing the lecture and explaining how these points relate to the reading passage. See here. So first, it says that many voters are unfamiliar with the computers. So many voters, they may end up voting at all. And this counters the argument that computerized voting is more user-friendly and prevents the voting result from being distorted. So how it relates from listening to reading part. Second, it directly challenges the argument that computerized voting will result in fewer miscounts by saying that computer programming errors could result in even larger miscounts or the loss of voting records. Third one, it rejects the idea that computerized voting would be similar to the computerized banking by pointing out that computerized banking is only reliable because it is so frequently used and that does not apply to voting part. So you have to relate your information. Though now see, this response is well organized, right? And it shows the writer really understand how to explain the ways in which one source disagrees with the other. Now, there are some occasional errors, like you can see here. Some people are not used of computer. This is wrong. Some people are not used to computers. And you can see here, miscounted. It's a single word, miscounted, right? So instead, there are little errors, but most important is they don't make the content inaccurate or unclear. The content is accurate and it is clear. The response is clear. So that's why this response got 5 out of 5. Apart from some occasional errors, but the response was well organized and well cleared also, right? So some tips how to improve your writing skills. First is practice paraphrasing. Now, what paraphrasing is? Expressing the same idea with different ways. Now, you know how to paraphrasing. If you want to watch a session on paraphrasing, you can go to my IELTS section, watch a paraphrasing session. I guess it was second or third session. I did talk about what is paraphrasing, different ways to paraphrase, right? So you can practice just about anything: news article, television, emails, poems, read or hear. Try to paraphrase well, try to write well, build up your own vocabulary. Use synonyms or keywords whenever you write. Next, remember how I said it that you have to identify main ideas. So start practicing by listening to the different lectures. Write down the main points. You can do it with your friends, your study partners also. Another tip is read two articles that are on the same topic. Write a summary of each. Explain the ways in which they are similar, the ways they are different also, right? So do improve your English speaking skills and English skills also. Keep practicing. I hope now I'm clear with this session and you got an information about how to attempt integrated writing question. So go to the YouTube and babycode application, watch out our live sessions, write anytime as per your convenience. Keep practicing, keep learning. Any doubts, write down here below this. You can see here, do the star rating, write your comments if you face any difficulty. I'm going to help you out with the same thing. And thank you so much for watching a live session. Stay tuned. I'm going to cover up next topic in the next session. Till then, please practice for integrated writing question. Bye bye. Take care, all of you.